which we have been demonstrated in all across the country. These are not just housing, but it is also covers the buildings like green storage buildings of rural areas, school, health buildings, community buildings, etc. More than 5 crores, 2 pit rural latrines developed at CBRI Roorkee has been constructed all over the country under ODF program, Open Defecation Free program of Government of India, connecting CBRI to every household of the country. About 40,000 brick plants producing high quality bricks with reduced cost and very low pollution have completely replaced the old technology by the advanced technology from CBRI. This has also created the clean environment of about 20 lakh brick kiln workers from rural area. During the past decades, I would like to mention some of the technologies like PPC cement, cold twisted steel bars, stone block masonry, underlying pipe foundation, efficient building components from CBRI are worth mentioning due to their immense impact on construction industry and on rural housing and urban housing. Contribution of CBRI towards the rural housing under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin in 13 states of India are worth mentioning. It will touch the poorest of the rural household and create rural entrepreneurship contributing to production of appropriate building materials and construction in materials and components in construction of cost-effective, durable, disaster-resistant houses at very low cost. CBRI has also helped building industry in designing of rural infrastructure, setting up of industry, skill development, and efficient use of local green and non-conventional materials. Contribution of CBRI Institute towards the development of design and construction guidelines, BIS codes, has impacted every dimension of affordable building and infrastructure scenario, opening new avenues to industry to step in. CBRI's contribution towards development of Compodium of appropriate rural housing technology titled PAHEL, which was released by our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji in December 2016 for the benefit of 15 states of India for efficient implementation of appropriate rural technologies, which we have suggested in the PAHEL. Various state governments like Odisha, UP, Assam, Bihar has associated CBRI for technical help and guidance. In present scenario, housing and infrastructure development needs support of latest appropriate technology and S&T interventions to be taken to the rural areas by competent industry for accelerated development. This we all know. Business runs on the basic principles of demand and supply. There is a demand created by government through various schemes, opening new avenues for industry to venture. Industry Rural Connect is need of the hour to revolutionize the rural development and construction sector. Expecting the wonderful deliberations ahead, I once again welcome you all, particularly Shri Prashant Kumar ji, Dr. P.K. Das ji, Architect Pramod Adlakha ji, our Director Dr. Anjan Ray ji, and other dignitaries who are here to share their valuable experiences and direct us to the path of developing a more efficient, connected network of concerned institutions, departments, ministries working in rural areas who can jointly accelerate the pace of rural housing and infrastructure development. With these words, now I would like to request Director CBRI, Dr. Anjan Ray sir, to please share his views for our guidance, please. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Negi. I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
So first of all, a very warm welcome to all the participants and our three distinguished plenary speakers for today's iConnect session. iConnect is an initiative of the Ministries of Science and Technology and Ministry of Earth Sciences, Government of India, as part of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, 75 years of our independence. It is a privilege to have with us three distinguished speakers from three distinct and complementary backgrounds today. We have, first of all, our first speaker would be Mr. Prashant Kumar, the former Special Secretary to the Government of India, Minister of Rural Development, a policymaker. Dr. P.K. Das, Principal Architect, Studio 1860, a practitioner on the ground of design and architecture. And Mr. Pramod Adlakha, MD of Adlakha Associates, pioneer in adoption of new technologies. 75 years from independence, India is very different from what it was in 1947. The aspirations of the people are different. The basic amenities and infrastructure in our villages is different. And what was considered rural then, with the resource base and the population per unit area back in 1947, is very different now. But the most important change that has taken place in 75 years is climate change. Temperatures have changed, humidity conditions have changed, soil conditions have changed, tree cover has changed, both in absolute terms and per capita. And disaster and extreme weather events have become more frequent and more erratic. At the same time, we are obligated as scientists and technologists, and as people to whom the government looks closely, particularly CBRI being at the cornerstone of affordable, practical, functional, and value-creating housing. It becomes incumbent on not only CBRI, but our extended community of researchers and industry who come together in iConnect. Mr. Adlakha has himself seen a lot of these changes over the years. There was a time when a village was a village, a city was a city. Today, a continuum between two cities has swallowed many villages. So, for example, just in Delhi NCR, I can think of villages like Pilkhua or Najafgarh, which no longer have the characteristics that they did then. So the construction requirements have changed, the design requirements have changed, the environmental requirements have changed, and no longer can we think of buildings as being isolated from everything else that goes around it, whether it is the trees, the roads, the schools, the air quality, everything has to be taken into account. Another thing to remember is that depending on the person's profile, could be a gender-based profile, an age-based profile, one spends more time indoors or outdoors in a rural house. Those who are spending more time indoors are perceiving a certain air quality, are experiencing a certain kind of temperature and weather conditions, are experiencing a certain kind of particulate matter, are experiencing certain kinds of occupational hygiene. Those who are working in the fields are experiencing something different, and when they come home at night, their comfort level requirements will be different from those who have been acclimatized during the day. Similarly, the villages that we would talk about in remote areas like Leh, Himachal, Arunachal Pradesh, Terai, or even villages in remote areas of the Rann of Kutch or the Thar Desert have completely different requirements from villages, let us say, in the alluvial plains of the Ganges. In my personal experience of India, I have traveled a lot of India, and I will particularly draw attention to one of the relatively poor areas, an aspirational district called Dindori on the eastern side of Madhya Pradesh. Between Dindori and the first district in Chhattisgarh, there are about 200 kilometers of land in length and about 40 kilometers across, where no grass grows, so where there are no cows and no milk. You can't get tea with milk in that area. Average income is pretty low. Housing is fairly traditional. And yet, because now the rivers that were there are getting dammed upstream and water supplies are changing, livelihoods are getting affected, and the houses that were comfortable even 25 years ago are not comfortable now. Those which were disaster resilient 25 years ago may not be disaster resilient now. I call upon the community in these deliberations and on our three keynote speakers to provide pointers on how policy can address these shifts, on how design must accommodate and predict future changes, and also make a house a living transformational object. A house should not be something that you build and leave. A house should be something that you build and can improve or adapt as conditions change. And it is not only about housing. Ultimately, there's an economic opportunity associated with housing and infrastructure. Let us also make sure that we provide this country with the most competitive, the most affordable, the most climate resilient, and the least carbon footprint housing within the boundary conditions of each given micro area. Putting these challenges on the table, we don't expect solutions in a 2-hour iConnect symposium, but we do hope that we will be able to generate pointers to a continuing debate and to maybe in 75 years further from now, an India that looks even more different and leads the world in sustainable and affordable housing. Thank you and best wishes for the event.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words and inspiration to the gathering. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the today's iConnect 42nd edition on construction sector opportunities to rural infrastructure and housing. Just, I would like to add in continuation to whatever has been said by Dr. Negi about the CBRI's contribution in terms of housing tax in housing sectors. Presently, we have done enough on material level and component level. Now, CBRI has already taken and ventured into the system level, semi-finished or finished industrialized constructions, particularly to the housing sector is there. Having known the facts and figures vis-a-vis the CBRI contribution in the domain, we are surely sure that the India is rising in terms of national prosperity, economy, technological development, infrastructure, and so is the case with aspirations of people of India as well, with emphasis on improved quality of life. Good news is that India is young with an average age of 26 years, in contrast with 50 to 60 years in developed country. So brings a lot of opportunities and hence calls for more research, development and innovations, interventions in infrastructure sectors. This is also very much need to be understood that if we can make a push on 1% rise in infrastructural development of the country, it will result into 1% development of GDP of the country. So with this view, a housing sector is very, very important aspect in this infrastructural development, and for which we have to focus on by changing the thinking, integrated, competitive
Ajay, your voice is gone, so Ajay, we can't hear you.
I guess there is some technical glitch, maybe. Without.
Now, yeah, yes, come back.
Yes.
So, over to you, Ajay, again. We missed a couple of lines from you due to some technical network issue.
I guess there's some technical glitch, and they might be facing some network issue. So without wasting much time, let's start with the plenary talks that we have scheduled for today. First, I would like to I would like to welcome Dr. Prashant sir for the very first plenary talk. Now, just to give a brief introduction about Prashant sir.
Sorry for the technical glitch. So the agenda for the today's event is, let us retrospect the mission on PMAYG, Aspirational District Program, Vibrant Village, and draw the roadmap to make the more stronger this particular program to achieve the quantum growth in rural infrastructure and housing by deliberating on need of urgent action, lifestyle changes, collective science-based targets and action, scalable proof of concept, and research development and innovation niche areas. Today, we have with us distinguished speakers from different cross-section of the society. Policymaker Mr. Prashant Kumar from Ministry. I request Mr. Prabodh Lakhaji to take the stage, and I request Mr. Prashant Kumarji to highlight on impediments in implementation of PMAYG. So before taking on the stage, I request Ashish to introduce Mr. Prashant Kumarji.
So thank you, sir, for your kind words, and it's my honor to welcome Prashant sir for his plenary talk. And just to give a brief introduction about Prashant sir. So he's Dr. Prashant sir is basically an IFS of 1985 batch Madhya Pradesh cadre, and he formerly was ex Special Secretary to Government of India, Ministry of Rural Development. His prior roles included Additional Secretary Government of India and Joint Secretary Government of India MORD. While he was Joint Secretary in MORD, a very key role he played in the implementation of PMAYG. Dr. Prashant is a PhD from Terry University, New Delhi, MPhil from Punjab University, PG Diploma in Public Administration from IPA, New Delhi, and the list is actually long. So with his vast experience in policy formation and implementation related to rural housing and infrastructure, we would like to be enlightened by his views on the current topic. So with this, I would like to welcome Prashant sir and request him to please deliver his talk. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ashish, for very kind words. Good morning to all of you, and welcome to this session. And I would like to let me request Ashish to upload my presentation. In the meanwhile, what I'll say is that this was a great journey to look after Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Jami right from its inception. It was a great learning. So today I'll be sharing some of my learnings with what we encountered as impediments or constraints, and what are the opportunities that lie ahead for various stakeholders of the construction sector. So what I'll do today is that I'll speak very, very briefly about PMAYG because it's a very big program. It's a flagship program of Government of India and one of the very successful programs of Government of India. And it has delivered what it promised. So I'll give a brief introduction, especially some of the highlights of this program, and then I'll discuss about the impediments and subsequently the opportunities. So please, next slide, please. Ashish, can we go to the next slide? Yeah. So, how the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin is, is part of Housing for All by 2024 initiative of Government of India. So, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana has two components. One is Gramin, that is the rural, and another is urban, that is the shahri. So it is part of that push housing for all. And as all of us know, that government has now they have now started the saturation act. It means that the government is now trying to saturate each and every person who are eligible to get that benefit. So that is why we have Har Ghar Jal Nal Jal Yojana, that is Jal Jeevan Mission, which aims at providing tap water connection to each and every rural household. Then we have Ujjwala Yojana, which gives LPG connection to each and every household. So the government has embarked upon the saturation approach, and to achieve the target of housing for all, the target set is 2.95 crore houses that are built in the rural areas. This is in 2016, although it came into being from 1st of April 2016, and till now 1.60, sorry, 1.86 crore houses have been completed, PMAYG houses have been. And if you compare 7 years from 2007 to 2015 22, and you compare it with 2007 and 14, 7 years, the figures are very revealing that in the first 2007-14 period, we constructed 1.60 crore houses, while between 2015 and 22, we have constructed 23, we have constructed 2.31 crore houses, so which is more than double the number that we constructed in the last 7 years. Very quickly, the unit assistance under PMAYG is 1.2 lakh, and in the plain areas and in the difficult areas in the states it is 1.3. And in addition to that, 90 for plain area and 95 for hilly areas, difficult areas, percentage of are given. And for toilet construction, for those who do not have a toilet, 12,000 of rupees is given either from NG and REGS, that is Rega, and from Swachh Bharat Mission Gramin. And the program also aims at not only construction of a house, but it also aims at improving the quality of life of the population. That is why we have convergence with various other. As I mentioned about the clean cooking fuel, that is LPG connection for electricity and for safe piped water. Next, please. So that is how the government is aiming to improve the quality of life of the people. Ashish, next, please. Now let us examine whether Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, as I have claimed, is a good scheme. So the basic aim of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, like any other good scheme, is right benefit to the right beneficiary at the right time. Now there are three very important aspects of the program. That is how to identify the right benefit. Because this is the most difficult task of any program, and then choose the right benefits from many benefits that person also requires. And the assistance should be given at the right time. If it is given before the right time, it goes waste. If it is not given at the right time, it leads to so many problems. So let us take all these three one by one. So for the identification of beneficiaries, first we have to identify the universe of beneficiaries, and from that universe the so far PMAYG is concerned, the government embarked upon identification of the beneficiaries from ACC, that is socio-economic and caste census data, which was held in the year 2011, just after the census. The difference between census and ACC is census is for individuals, while ACC data talks about individual households. So in ACCC 2011, 24 crore households were captured. Out of these 24 crore, 18 crore households were from the rural area. So with the exclusion criteria and identification of 0, 1 and 2 room Kacha houses, this universe of 18 crore was reduced to 4.03 crore households. So there was an elimination of approximately 14 crore households. So this pool of 4.03 crore houses that made the universe of beneficiaries. From these 4.03 crore houses, it was further reduced 2.95 crore houses when Gram Sabha verification was taken into account. Gram Sabhas, they verified in their meetings that were eligible or not eligible. And this 2.95 crore households have further gone down. The number has further gone down to somewhere around 2 crore because during the time of allocation of houses, sanction of houses, it was found that they are ineligible for sanction of a house. So therefore, to bridge the gap between 2.95 crore and the existing number that is 2 crore. So beneficiaries from Awas Plus list have also been taken as PMAY beneficiaries. Another important aspect of Abdul program is there should be sufficient fund available and there should be smooth flow of funds and there should be direct benefit transfer. This is important because any human intervention leads to so many problems. So under PMAYG, there is direct benefit transfer from the state government's state nodal account to the beneficiary. And now it has also got changed and now the PMAYG is resorting to Aadhaar-based payment system. It has further streamlined the process. And it is very important that the third component is we should have a very robust program and structure. There should be minimum of human interference and based so our soft of our soft of PMAYG is the administrative architecture and all the transactions, all the payments, all the progress, everything is captured on our soft and populated. And to instill a sense of competition among various stakeholders, we developed a performance index which compares the performance of the states, the districts, and the blocks nationally, and it changes every day based on various parameters. So it has instilled a sense of competition among various districts, blocks, and they vie with each other to bring their geographical entities at near the top. And another very important aspect of the good scheme is that there should be evidence-based monitoring. Whatever we monitor, whatever we report, that should be supported by evidence. So Awas application, Awas app, it is a mobile-based application. It captures the progress of the house at each permit stage.
Voice, please.
I guess there's some technical glitch from the network issue from the presenter side. So please bear with us for just some moments, and he'll be back in a short while. Guys, friends, there is Dr. Prashant is facing some network issue. Meanwhile, he's getting connected back. Let's start. Let's hear the second presenter today, Dr. P.K. Das sir. And just to give a brief introduction about Das sir, Dr. Das is a design and construction specialist with specific technical experience in project appraisal, planning, implementation, and maintenance management of community-based construction, especially education and healthcare infrastructure. As a freelance consulting architect, Das sir has worked for DFID, UNDP, UNHABIT, Arcadis, BMB, INGOs, and Government of India, etc. Dr. Das also has a 15 years of teaching experience at university level. He taught at Jadavpur University between 1989 to 92. Since then, he has been teaching off and on as visiting faculty at leading institutes in India. He's a graduate in architecture, BArch Honors in 1981 from Jadavpur University, Calcutta, and a postgraduate in Building Engineering and Management, MBENM, School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi, and a PhD from University of Newcastle upon Tyne, UK. So with this few words, I would like to welcome Dr. P.K. Das sir for his talk today. So over to you, Das sir, and welcome you once again.
Thank you very much, Ashish. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Your presentation is also visible, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Very good morning, honorable guests. I don't see ladies, so I can say, but I should say ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this presentation on the rural housing, expectations versus reality. I work in the rural areas, but over the last 15 years, deeply involved with government-aided programs like IAY and PMAYG in particular. So as far as rural housing is concerned, I'll be presenting it through the prism of primarily PMAYG, though I'll be talking a bit about beyond this program also. You know, any professional presenter is advised not to begin the presentation with the statistics because statistics is a major deterrent. But I'm afraid I have to start with the statistics because otherwise my presentation does make any sense. If I look at the census 2011, we find that India had 306 million houses, out of which 33% were kacha walls. Now, Ministry of Rural Development had come up with this PMAYG. One of the prime concerns, there are many objectives of that, was to eradicate the kacha walls from the housing situation in India. So though 101 million was kacha walls way back in 2011, but now with the PMAYG adding 30 million pakka houses, this 101 million straight away dips down to 70 million. But I'm sure because of the enhancement of the living condition of the people from 2011 up to now, even the 70 million must have been reduced drastically. Now, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, which adds about 30 million shelters, it's a huge sum of money. It's a great opportunity, but it's also a great threat to the environment also. So PMAYG always looked at the balancing act, that how do you balance between the opportunities and the threats. One of the particular things that I would like to mention about this PMAYG is that I was involved with many housing projects, both in India and many developing countries. One thing that is quite common to all these government-aided projects that it is a top-down. You know, we architects and engineers, we think that we know everything about the rural people. Though, if I practice as an architect in the urban area, my client is my God. But I have a different attitude when I look at the rural poor people. I said, what do they know about themselves? In fact, we know hardly anything about themselves. So earlier, the top-down thing, that is we design, we give it to the people for implementation, was one of the problems. As far as the design and technology was concerned, space design was not given due importance, and the beneficiary participation was not there, as I have already mentioned. Traditional technologies were ignored, and energy and emission intensive system was not much given importance to that. Now, under these circumstances, the MORD expectation was to address the above issues to set a trend in rural housing in general through PMAYG. So PMAYG is not like one more housing program of delivering 30 million houses. Through this, PMAYG wanted to set a trend in the rural house and influence the rural housing in general. Now, what is the process that was adapted to have this paradigm shift? 13 states were chosen on priority basis by the Ministry of Rural Development. And what we did was, instead of starting the design at the studio level, we went to the beneficiaries. We went to the beneficiaries and we wanted to understand what their aspirations are. So we didn't define what is a housing as per the Bureau of Indian Standard. We requested them, how do you think is a complete house for you? So the beneficiaries, they defined it. And then we saw what was possible, the fund within PMAYG, and the gap was supposed to be mended. How do we mend the gap? The study was based on resource mapping, and it was focused on consultation and participation. We took a basic 9 criteria for the in-depth study of the sector of housing. We began with the state level, then district, and then block, settlement, and households level. The entire journey was by means of a car, slightly expensive, but wherever we stopped for a cup of tea, we'll stop there, go to the village, and have a look at that, what kind of materials are being used, talk to a few masons, materials, etc. So this is how we enlarge our understanding about how the people in the rural areas live. Now, in this process, we got how the state, district, block, settlement, and particularly the housing households, how they view housing as one of the solutions. These were all merged together and synthesized into a report. And the report was shared with the state government. And after getting their comments, it was finalized and it was fed to PAHEL, the book which Mr. Negi has informed right in the beginning. And Dr. Prashant Kumar, who is the other speaker, he was the main captain of that particular movement. Now, you can look at the process of the design and the technologies. You can look at the participatory process. And the technologies were primarily based on local materials technologies. When we conducted this in the 13 states of India, we got 64 housing zones of India and with about 130 zone specific designs. Now, that was a time when, it was the end of 2016, and it was told that the Honorable Prime Minister will be launching PMAYG in Agra. But then we came to know from MORD that the Honorable Prime Minister cannot launch if the technologies are not validated. Now, the 64 housing zones, 130 designs, and a good number of local material-based construction technologies were also evolved. Who could be the institute? So we were trying to expedite both from MORD and the UNDP. And one thing that came loud and clear was that CVRI is the pioneering institute where we can go for this one. CVRI did one, that is, they had scrutinized 600 drawings and examined the architectural and structural side of that. And finally, they prepared the validation report of 40 technologies. And they look like this. So many foundations, so many walls, so many roofs, etc. I've been working in this field for quite some time. And this is for the first time I'm finding that bamboo and few improvised vernacular systems have been recognized. Otherwise, neither I was taught this in my colleges, in the undergrads, postgraduate, or PhD. And this is for the first time we get bamboo and a few improvised vernacular technologies validated by the CBRI scientists. This is how it looks like, the validated technologies of different foundations, walls, and roofing systems. One of the biggest gains in this is the long-awaited validation of the green technology. We all talk about it, but how will a junior engineer or assistant engineer in the rural area will ever listen to us and adapt green technologies if there is no assurance of the structural validation? So now the gate has opened. Now, PMAYG vision was also another very important aspect of that, was viewing construction as an opportunity for local level employment generation. By and large, whenever we construct with bricks, most of the money goes to the rich people's pocket. I'm not against it, but if I construct 100,000 houses in a particular state, we don't want the entire money to go to the brickfield owners, a majority of that. So it was envisaged that if we use labor-based technologies, labor-intensive technologies, and local materials, quite a large amount of investment will be enjoyed by the local people. Now, if you look at this chart, the burnt brick requirement of the PMAYG for 30 million, about 30 million houses was 295 billion bricks. Quite a huge thing. And this is the panoramic view of burnt brick, reinforcement, cement, etc., etc. One of the most important things of the ongoing project was that all these technologies are non-renewable resources, energy, and carbon dioxide intensive. So there was a strong need for alternatives, and the validated technologies had quite a good number of green technologies. If I assume that 20% of a PMAYG annual target is under the green design and technologies, then what do I find? Bamboo and Ikra, which is quite relevant in many parts of the northeastern India, we can have entrepreneurship of small units run by the SHGs. There is a great potential for industry partnership because, why should the rural construction industry be always low tech? Why don't we take advantage of the advanced technologies offered by the high-end skills of the industry? So we can have corrugated iron sheet, corrugated bamboo mat, precast roof, prefab doors and windows. We can have industry partnership and enhance quality, reduce cost. The third sector is a medium level entrepreneurship, which is, let's say, compressed stabilized mud block, micro concrete tiles, etc., etc. Now, if I look at this kind of technology, then we'll be able to create quite a large number of green employments. If I look at only CSA, we calculated that if I add up 20% of the annual target of PMAYG, then 78,000 families could be supported for 1 year. Quite a good thing, apart from the benefit of reduction in energy and carbon dioxide emission. This is the overall summary of the kind of opportunities that can be generated through Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin. Now, let me come back to the basic premise of this presentation, that what is a ground reality? The ground reality is like this. For the first time in India, participatory people-centric design, which is based on aspirations of those people, not us, not what we think their aspirations should be. It is the people's own aspiration, and through participatory process, designs are being prepared. Mason's training is a revolution because earlier Indian construction sector, particularly in the rural area, was unorganized. In one of the presentations in Johannesburg, one guy told me that your Indian industry is unorganized. You do not certify masons. I'm talking about 2010, 2011 or something like that. I felt hurt, but I was trying to defend my own country. But it's true that we didn't have it. Now, under PMAYG, a large number of masons are being trained for a 45-day training program, and there is RPL, that is recognition of prior learning. But these are all on conventional technology. People are in the driving set, as Dr. Prashant Kumar has shown in his presentation. It's a transparent system. Our software is in public domain, so anybody can look into the status, the progress, etc., etc. All the PMAYG states are design manuals. These design manuals are all prepared by the people. Now, one thing that I have to now admit, that while the design has been widely accepted by many of the states, region-specific technologies which were validated by CBRI are yet to be accepted. There are so many factors in that. Let us look at that. On one side, we have got the government of India, state government, DM, and from the other side, the people, the Gram Sabha, GP leaders, etc. They all converge at a point, BDO, Block Development Office. This is the most important link between the public and the government, and the last government link with the people, where the policies get translated into reality. So if I simply say, please, these are CBRI validated technology, use it, nobody is going to use it. What we have to understand, the top level management, the community's perception, the DM and the BDO, the engineers is one of the most of the key factors. And the community leaders and local market, and last but not the least, construction sectors. Until and unless we have a very clear concept of the dynamics of this at the rural level, it is difficult to promote green technologies. After sitting there in the BDO's office and DM's office for hours, these are the certain things which have been accumulated. Top level management. It's very important that most of the DMs, they do not have time. They're so busy with so many factors. So until and unless we go and talk to them with a very clear vision, that's important. Who informs them? Many times, DM is being informed by a very incompetent person, maybe sometimes with some interest. So I think it's very important that when we go to the DM, we are very clear, very brief, and to the point. The other thing which a DM would always look for, do we have the data for the schedule of rates? Otherwise, it's a question of responsibility. Then engineers, community leaders, local markets. The engineers have the age-old issue, structural safety certificates. And if the building falls down, what will happen? If an engineer is in late 50s, we'll think about the pension. Anything happens with my building and my pension is stuck. Okay. So we have to say something, we have to demonstrate. I'll talk about it a little later. Local market. Even if I tell my beneficiaries that, look, please use green technologies, there are lots of advantages. Where are they? They're not available in the local market. The community leader quite often asks me, why do you want to experiment with our people? Yeah, all of them are valid points. Then we have got the problems with data, we have skill and environment. As far as the skill is concerned, while PMAYG has a significant contribution of machines training in the conventional technology, but then green technologies are yet to take up. But the revised framework of implementation is a very good toolkit to implement that as well. Now, with all these backgrounds, let me come back to the most crucial point of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin. Dissemination of technologies by MORD CBRI. MORD CBRI partnership has decided that we begin with Assam and Uttar Pradesh. Will demonstrate buildings by constructing 6 demonstration buildings. And if we simply build a few demonstration buildings and come out, it is not going to create a dent at all. Until and unless we stay there for a longer time and support the people at grassroots level. So from CBRI, it was decided that 80 beneficiaries in the 2 states will be given doorstep supports for a prolonged period. The spin-off of this will be enabling environment for the local level environment. Now, Assam has got 5 housing zones, 6 design options. Uttar Pradesh has got 6 housing zones and 6 design options. What is the structure of the implementation of the process of Assam and UP? Each state, they have selected 2 districts which are adjacent to each other. Why adjacent to each other? Because we will be making the demonstration building in one side. If they are more or less at the load center, then both the state districts will be getting the opportunity to look at the demo building. Each district, 2 blocks, so 4 blocks. And this is the last box is a target. That is 8 JEs, 30 masons, 2 supervisors, altogether 40. They will be our ambassador. Now, the first thing is whenever we have a project like this, if we do not orient the top level management at the district level, it is a futile exercise. No, it will be something like a lateral entry. So what has happened is Assam has already sent their top level people from Dibrugarh and Tinsukia to CBRI on the 27th and 28th of the last month. They have undergone the orientation training. So we have got a favorable ground now. The next one will be, they will be doing the hands-on training for constructing the demo buildings, showing various types of foundation, walling, roofing, and finishing. The output of that will be 3 demo buildings and a good number of human resources. With these human resources, techno manager support will be given to the doorsteps of the people so that they can construct 40 plus 40, 80 houses. And we are envisaging that in this process, we'll be able to create a dent in the field of disseminating cost-effective technologies and green technologies. This is the output of the 2 states. 4 districts, 8 blocks, 86 buildings, 60 master trainers, so on and so forth. Now, What was the purpose of doing this tool? Do we think that by making a few demo buildings in 2 states, we are going to change the whole world? Certainly not. But CBRI's intention and objective is to spread the knowledge as a chain reaction, what we find in a chemical reaction. So initially, we try with the 2 states, Assam and UP, and then over a period of time, we multiply to several other states. Now, before I conclude, I have got about 2.5 minutes left. So before I conclude, I'll tell you the story of Tripura. Way back in 2014, when the study which I have already mentioned was over, the then Additional Secretary, Mr. Vijay Raghavan and Vijayanan, and the Joint Secretary, Ms. Vijaya Srivastav, they said, enough of research, show us something on the ground. So we took up the first step, Tripura. Tripura, watch out the date, 5th September 2014. But by the time the state government was convinced, the trainings 1 year was almost passed. So the bamboo workers were trained. I'm going through that very quickly. Jointing was done. This is the end of the training program. And after that, bamboos were procured. They were treated. Trusses were made. You can see on the right hand side, the Joint Secretary Rural Development Department is trying to break the truss. He used to come quite regularly to see the quality and the process. The construction started. You can see the different stages of construction. The lower part is compressed stabilized mud block, and this is in zone 5 of seismicity. Therefore, only toe wall was made and the seismic reinforcement, you can see it. Then the superstructure, the bamboo is being treated bamboo. And this is how the building was almost over. If you look at this, the bamboo mat in the superstructure was plastered from outside and looks like this. Now, 7 years later, the house looks like this. Now, what happened was when these houses were being constructed, there was a very young IS officer who was tagged with me by the DM as a probationary officer. Ashish, just 2 more minutes. Okay.
No issue, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, this gentleman, he was so much enthusiastic that I received a call from him in February this year. He said, look, now I am the DM of one of the districts of Tripura. Okay, let me mention it is West Tripura. Come, I would like to continue with that. So in the February, it's a Belonia Tripura. The DM said, look, I have got self-help group of the women, but they are not getting market by selling papad, achar, and things like that. I would like to involve them for block production. So the block making training started, and the women started continuing the block production. So one women's SSG, they continued the block production even after 4 days training program, and the block that was produced, it had to be implemented. So Ratna, one of the poorest beneficiaries of that particular area, she earns only 1,500 rupees a month as a cook in the school for midday meal. So she was chosen for constructing the house, and her house was built. 360 square feet covered area, 2 rooms, veranda plus kitchen, 1.53 lakh completed in 50 days. Now the SAG produced 2,000 blocks. They earned 20,000 rupees. And this is how the SAG looks like. On the left-hand side, you can see it's like a mini lab. They have the electronic weighing machine. They are weighing, they're producing the blocks. And the blocks are tested. And you can see the young kid, because here the women can look after their children and produce blocks because the block is produced in their outskirts. 300 bamboos were treated for this particular building, and the SAG Art Award 8,000 rupees. Now, following the same line, 80 houses are being built in Undapara district. Now, this is after the project. Now, very soon after CBRI finishes Assam and Uttar Pradesh, we'll be getting 2 more diagrams like this, and with these 3 diagrams, we should be able to get some sort of more generalized idea about how to implement in the other states. In summary, we can say that I have already mentioned the green ones, participatory, people-centric design, etc., etc. But this block, the mop color block, disseminating the region-specific technologies by CBRI. Tripura has already demonstrated one of the ways of dissemination. The CBRI program in Assam and UP would make the top-level management aware, give community an opportunity to experience in reality what green technologies mean, lay the foundation stone for local entrepreneurship and industry partnership, engineers confidence on green building, the act of building, train masons and aware people on green technologies and designs. Dissemination is not an easy job. This is for our CBRI team. Let's learn from the history. I have seen many failures in this place. The y-axis shows the awareness and acceptance, and x-axis is the time. When we start the intervention, there's a lot of rise in enthusiasm, but when we exit the intervention, it dips. And it dips because it fails to compete with the market and simply did not perform as promoted. But under CBRI, the idea is that we follow the dotted line. With that, I must thank you very much for your kind patience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your very enlightening words on this Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Grameen. Now, I would like to request Prashant sir to please continue with his presentation. So, Prashant sir.
Yes, Ashish. So I'm there.
So I'll just share the presentation, sir.
Sure. So
Yes.
Till what time I was audible? Can you indicate me so that I can take?
Sir, I'll just open up the slide, the last slide where we left.
Okay.
Yes. So this was the slide that we were presenting, sir.
No, no. Go to the previous slide, please.
Okay, sir.
No,
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we discussed till the attributes of a good scheme, and was I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Okay, so if I remember correctly, I covered all the points, and the last point was convergence with other schemes.
Yes, sir.
So okay, so now let us go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so this is as I said in the last slide, that for a good program there should be minimum of human interference. So as I had said there that under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Grameen, there is absolutely no human interference when the fund flows, except for the fact that when a transaction is being initiated, that is the only point when a human interference is when interface is available. Otherwise, the funds get transferred from Awas Soft to PFMS to the state nodal bank to the beneficiaries bank UPCI, and the reverse flow of information is there, and it populates both PFMS and Awas Soft, and with this data, the reports are generated. One thing is very important in Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Grameen, that no reports are required from any of the state, districts, or blocks. So whatever we see in Delhi or at the ministry level, that is also seen at the Gram Panchayat level. Of course, the perspectives are different, but the same set of information is available to everyone. So there is absolutely no requirement of generation of the data, and it has saved every one of us from a lot of work of sending monthly reports. Next slide, please. Yeah. So as I spoke about the performance index, here you can see that there is a map of the country, and it shows red, deep green, light green, yellowish colors. So basically what happened that we wanted to rank different states, blocks, districts on their performance. So first we embarked upon developing performance index and identifying the attributes on which this index was to be based. And then we said that, okay, if the performance is below a certain level, then it will be red, and the best performing states will be, or the block geographies will be deep green, and in between different colors. So you can see here that a few states are shown in deep, and one or two states are in red. But when you click any of these states, the map of various districts of that state will appear, and it will again show different districts in different colors. because it is not necessary if a state is doing bad or if a state is doing good, all the districts are doing bad or they are doing good. No, there will be a few districts, a few blocks who will be doing good, and there will be some blocks who will not be, some districts will not be doing good. So this basically aimed at identifying the geographies who are not doing well. And after we have identified the geographies, then we go to a different aspect of performance index, where all the parameters are with numbers, and then we can identify the numbers, the parameter on which is bringing down the performance of that geography. So this was a very good tool to identify the problem areas and how to address them. Next, please. And all the awards, annual awards, they were being awarded to different geographies based on the performance index performance. So this was a very important tool, and it instilled a sense of healthy competition among different geographies. Now, as I said, that evidence-based monitoring is very important. Even the beneficiary or a person appointed by the government, they can upload the progress. So what we did here, if you look at this slide, on the top left corner, we have the beneficiary detail. It is from Assam, Bongaigaon district, who is the beneficiary, the block, etc., etc. Below that, we have details of the funds that were given to the beneficiary. In this case, you can see that the state of Assam had decided in 2017 to give the beneficiaries the total amount of 130,000 in 3 installments. So on which date the installments have been given, you can see that the first installment was given in April, and the last installment was given in the month of August. Yeah, in the month of August. So within this within the time of 4 months, the entire amount was disbursed. Then if you look at the right side of the slide, you will find that there are 5 photographs, and the date of inspection is also mentioned there. So the very first photograph is of the house where the beneficiary is presently staying. The second from below is where the beneficiary intends to construct a house, then construction up to plinth level, then the roof cast level, and the completed house. So this gives an idea. This is basically evidence of that house, that it has been constructed on the ground, and it is all these photographs are geotagged, time and date stamped. Of late, we also started doing the geofencing so that photograph of any other place cannot be uploaded, and it can be uploaded within the permissible limit distance. So next slide, please. So this is evidence-based monitoring, and I must tell you that Pradhan Mantri Awas Gramin Yojana was Awas Yojana Gramin was the first program in the government of India which used all these techniques to ensure the quality of house. And what Dr. Das has also mentioned in his presentation, this is about the rural masons training program, and as he has said that it is a 45 days program. And the target is to train and certify. It is very important to certify 230,000 rural masons. The qualification pack of these rural masons not only incorporates masonry work, but it incorporates various other aspects of house completion, especially considering the problems in rural areas where you can't find a bar bender or other aspects of construction. So it incorporates trades of bar bending, scaffolding, etc., etc. So as I said earlier, that the target is 230,000 rural masons to be trained, and till now 105,452 rural masons have been certified, and the certification is, of course, third party. So this is going to help in a big way the rural areas, and this also gives an opportunity for other construction entities also. Next slide, please. Ashish, can we have the next slide? Yeah. So convergence is a very important aspect because it leads to from a house to a home. Because if a house has all the facilities of toilet, of clean cooking fuel, of electricity, of drinking water, tapped pipe water. So in one district of Rajasthan, they took an initiative. The collector took an initiative, and he issued an order for convergence of 15 programs with PMAYG, and that included construction of tanks because it is a dry area. And there were 15 such programs which were converged with the PMAYG. So PMAYG, the convergence aspect of PMAYG has played a very good role in upping the quality of life for the rural population. Next slide, please. Dr. Das has already spoken a lot about house design typologies. Here, I would like to show only one. On the top left is the house design typology developed by CBRI and developed by UNDP and IIT Delhi and vetted by CBRI. So on the left top corner is the house design typology, and on the right side how the house has been constructed. So you can see that the typology that was provided and vetted by CBRI, and it has already been ruled out on the ground. It incorporates features of it is a low cost technology, it is disaster resilient, local geoclimatic considerations have been taken into account. This particular house design typology is for the flood prone areas, and it falls under typology for zone B, and it also takes into consideration the cultural considerations of the area. So next slide, please. And next slide, please. So since we have taken a lot of effort in making it a good program, good scheme, so the average time taken for completion of a house, which was 300 and approximately 14 days in 2015-16, it came down to 113 days in 2017-18. So you can see the impact of various steps, various new aspects that we had introduced. Next slide, please. And as I had said earlier, that this this almost doubled the number of houses completed in 7 years' time, that is 2007 to 2014 and 2015 to 2023. So it is more than double. Next slide, please. And as all of us know that if you take that any house construction leads to a lot of employment generation. It is both direct and indirect. And if you talk about the construction material industry, it gives them a very good opportunity to pitch in. And these are the numbers from a conventional pakka house, which incorporates bricks, cement, steel, etc. So we can see here that the number of bricks utilized for a typical PMAYG house is somewhere around 10,000, 125 bags of cement, and 0.4 tons of steel. So now, if you consider that 183,000 houses have 86,000 houses, PMAYG houses have been constructed, so there are approximately 1 crore and 9 lakh houses yet to be completed. And even if 80% of these houses are from the conventional technology, you can imagine the number of bricks, cement, steel that will be required for completion of these houses. Next slide, please. Next, please. So while we implemented the program of PMAYG, we faced a few constraints, impediments, and the biggest one was that there were landless beneficiaries of PMAYG, and their number was approximately 4.09 lakh. And with a lot of our efforts, of the ministry and the state government, only 50%, approximately 50% of these landless beneficiaries have been provided land. And in fact, this led to formulation of schemes of assistance to purchase land by the beneficiaries, and this includes the states of Assam, Bihar, Maharashtra. They have come out with a scheme to provide assistance to the beneficiaries to purchase land. Then another important constraint was how to capture the quality of the house. Now, this was a very big challenge, and it was because we could count the numbers from evidence-based monitoring, but how about the quality? So we came out with online modules, and initially we used to pick up houses manually, and we used to send it to the different states so that they can come back with their. We went to the states with our observations that according to the photograph, this house appears to be incomplete or deficient in its quality, and the states were supposed to give their feedback on those. But of late, what we decided is that we will use artificial intelligence, and we trained our computer, and now it is online module for to address this issue. Then uninterrupted supply of construction material was another aspect, especially of the sand. So this was another impediment. Then there was another problem, that is how to popularize house design typology. I still remember that one of the chief ministers of one of the states, he remarked that we do not want kacha houses, because he considered that these house design typologies are kacha houses. We do not want our beneficiaries to have kacha houses. We want them to have pakka houses. So this was the mindset, but gradually it is being overcome. And as Dr. Das has also said, that the gradual change in the attitude of the policymakers, of the important stakeholders is coming to fructification. Then we have another issue of using of local material, and model houses have already been spoken to, because we were trying very hard to implement the model houses on the ground, but subsequently of late it has fructified, and it is underway. Then another important aspect was impediment was migration, both temporary and permanent, and it was leading to retard the progress of construction of the houses, unwillingness for various regions by different beneficiaries, death of beneficiaries. So of late, we definitely issued instructions, guidelines on these. And another important aspect was that because of plethora of programs by Ministry of Rural Development and other ministries, the nodal point, that is the block, the field level functionaries were overburdened by various schemes. And this also led to engage Awas Mitra or Awas Sahayak, who were engaged on honorarium basis. If you get these many number of houses completed, you get this much of honorarium. So this addressed the problem. Then there was another problem of timely release of funds by the state governments. Uh, this still is a problem, but yes, the quantum has come down. And another very important aspect was lack of a loan product. This is a very important learning, because there was no loan product rolled out by the banks, and it was forcing the beneficiaries to get loans from not from the institutional lenders, but from other sources, which at times were exploitative. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Now let us come to opportunities, and this is the last but one slide. This is an opportunity to boost the construction material industry, whether it is in the form of cement, steel, or it is in the form of providing local material with improved like a stabilized mud block. So these are the various aspects which need to be looked into, and these opportunities are to be grabbed by relevant stakeholders. It is another very important aspect, that because when you go to the village and talk to the people, I came across that the fact that a few households which were slightly better off, they said, "Sir, we also want to construct a bigger and better house, because the poorest of the poor in the village have got pakka houses. Now, since we are better off, we need a bigger house, or we need to expand our house." So this is an opportunity for construction material industry, and for others as well. And then more availability of rural missions has widened the scope of better quality construction in the rural area. And then we have another opportunity in popularizing house design topology, because this is very important, and Dr. Das has spoken about it in great detail. And there is another important opportunity that lies before us, is alternative construction technologies that has been developed by CBRE. They also need to be popularized, so that the quality of houses is better and the houses are long lasting. Similarly, use of local construction material and traditional know-how. And another very important opportunity that has been thrown by PMYG House is use of, because it has increased the use of toilet and floor cleaners. Now, this is an opportunity which needs to be looked into, and it can lead to MSMEs producing more quantity of these cleaners. Next slide, please. This has brought us to the last slide of my presentation. So there is an opportunity for the prefabricated houses. But in my opinion, because when I had my last interaction with the industry people, It was slightly on the higher side so far cost is concerned, and they'll have to think about lowering the costs and preparing the clientele, because cost can be lowered with the economies of scale, but reaching the level of economies of scale is a very difficult one, and that needs a lot of effort in that direction. The ministry had also issued guidelines for collaboration between the technical institutions of a state, district, etc. And these technical institutions were supposed to provide technical guidance, field facilitation, supervision, quality control to the states, to the blocks, to the district. So the technical institutions who may wish to onboard this program, they can have an MOU with the states, with the state governments or the lower formations. And the ministry has already issued guidelines on this in this regard. And the loan product we have already discussed, and the study by NIP-FP has found that 63.40% of PMAYG beneficiaries, they invested more than what they had been given as a subsidy, but they invested investments, additional investment range from 1,000 to 5.5 lakhs. And there is another opportunity for reviving the rural housing network. This was put in place, but because of various reasons, it could not take off, it could not continue. So there is an opportunity for various stakeholders to join in and revive this RHKN, that is Rural Housing Knowledge Network. And at the end, what I'll say is, let us be partners in the changing skyline of rural India. The Pakka houses that are getting constructed in the rural areas, it is changing the rural skyline forever. Thank you very much. So Ashish, I'm done. So thank you to all of you for a very patient hearing. Thank you so much.
So,
Thank you, sir.
thank you so much, sir, for your very kind words and giving us an insight about the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Grameen, how the implementation was done and how the policy was formatted. So with this, I would like to call upon now our next speaker, Mr. Pramod Adlakha. Now, just to give a brief introduction of Adlakha sir, he is one of the founding member of Adlakha Associates Private Limited. Sri Pramod Adlakha is a pioneer in the field of affordable housing. He has a rich experience of more than 4 decades for working in low-cost housing sector. His project work include many successful names such as Corporate Office of Greater Noida Industrial Development Authority, Lalit Kala Academy, and 300-bedded super specialty Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Hospital, etc. With this very brief introduction of Sri Pramod Adlakha, welcome him in this 42nd event of ICONIC Program on Construction Sector Opportunities in Rural Infrastructure and Housing, and request him to please share his experiences with all of us. So, Pramod sir, over to you now.
Thank you, Ashish, and good morning, everybody. Let me first just want to say something. My association with CBRI started in 1974. So I've been associated with CBRI for almost now 5 decades, going to complete 5 decades. And during this period, I have utilized on ground, implemented on ground, more than 50 technologies, alternate technologies, delivering more than 50,000 affordable houses with alternate technologies, more than 2 crores square feet area constructed with alternate technologies, used more than 20 crores fly ash bricks, more than 14 crores resource efficient bricks, that is perforated hollow bricks, and more than 10 lakhs 50,000 precast elements used in a single housing project, And I worked both in urban and rural areas. And during this period of execution, I have trained both masons at ground level, the supervisors, the engineers, the architects, and even the faculty of the engineering and architectural colleges to promote these technologies. This is been my endeavor. Before I go ahead with the slides, I'll request Ashish to share the slides with me. I want to first give my experiences which I have got during these 50 years of implementation of these technologies. And then I'll share the photograph to this. Ashish, please.
So the slides are visible?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Let's ask others. Yes, okay. Next, please. We can go fast. Next, please. Yeah. This is the guiding principles for sustainable living, and this is based on 3 attributes, that is maximum possession, minimum consumption, and minimum wastage. This applies to both food industry as well as for the building industry also, if we want to make the building sustainable. Next. Next, please. Yeah. Our all technologies, rural technologies particularly, have been achieved from the ancient Indian civilization, which is the learning tool of technology. Indian heritage technologies are the examples of the temples of the modern India, how we designed those old buildings and how we have been achieving the concept of insulation, concept of environment, saving of water and everything. Next. Rural sustainable housing is also dependent on affordability. Unless it is affordable, no technology will work. Economics of the technology is based on engineering principles and fundamentals which are simple to understand. It is basically what I say to all my clients, that using these alternate technologies does not require hi-fi engineering, hi-fi architecture. It's basically a common sense architecture. I call it as a common sense architecture is the one which is used in implementing these technologies. These technologies are ease for construction, ease of maintenance, and it provides optimization of material strength, conserves the energy, and it will provide the growth of the rural economy and also gives the local employment generation because it is not highly mechanized. Next. These are about 50 technologies that I've used. I'll skip over. Next. This is simply going back to the technologies in India. In 50s and 60s, of course, conventional construction was load-bearing construction as well as RCC frame construction in India. But in the course of new technology implementation, 50s and 60s, research was done by CBRI, SERC, and other CSIR units, and most of these technologies were based on conserving steel, conserving cement, and because of the shortage of the bricks, and leading to generation of manual labor. So these were all oriented towards labor employment, labor generation, but not very much on the mechanization side. Next. In 60s and 70s, again, these partial small prefab technologies were developed with conventional materials, which were easy to cast and which were easy to erect, which were easy to understand, and which were easy to understand even by small contractors. So based on the manual methods for local employment generation. Then the next improvements were done in 80s and 90s when BMTPC came into picture. Next. When lab to ground transfer of technology, BMTVC was created. Even CBRI also took this initiative. But from 2000 onwards, when these technologies were slightly mechanized, I call this as a semi-mechanized, there were effects of climate change, carbon footprint, energy conservation, uh, the environment, national resources, these became the primary factors. And when these becomes the primary factors, the methodologies of planning and construction also change. there were exploration of new green materials, and then the new technology. But what CBRI has done belongs to this category. Only thing that we required was to make it mechanized, semi-mechanized, and improve the quality of construction. Then came in the Sunshine, the JNNURM, the RAY, the PMAY, both urban and rural, and affordable housing for all. These gave us the boost for both urban and rural. Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities were promoted with the fast track industrialized technologies. But what CBRI has done, I'm still promoting it and still suggest this is suitable for rural areas, semi-urban areas, semi-rural areas, even in small towns, maybe up to tier 3 level, tier 4 level. Next. For the promotion and implementation, there is a bright side of success of these technologies, and the success story I'll show you how to overcome the resistance. The question is, the resistance has come. In my 50 years of implement, I faced a lot of resistance, but my mantra has been continuous persistence. Persistence, discard the fears and negatives at the beginning, but make it possible to go ahead with renewed vigor. While going through 5 decades of my fighting against all odds, what I have learned is one may encounter many defeats, but one must not be defeated. Next. Then another mantra is that we are all the players in the game of technology. It is not the skill. It is the game spirit that wins the game. We are the trustee of the knowledge. But to sustain ourselves, we have to win the trust of the people for whom, then the society for whom we are doing construction work, and for whom we are serving this society. Next. And this mantra is, मकान ऐसे मत बनाओ कि लोग फरियाद करें, मकान ऐसे बनाओ कि लोग फिर याद करें. That is the success mantra of technologies if we want to use this technology. This is a caveat for this. Next. Now I'll show you some of the quickly the projects which I have done on these various technologies. This is a demonstration housing project still under completion in Ahmedabad. 40 houses, RC plank system, interlocking motorless block technologies, many other ferro cement elements, precast staircase steps, many other precast sunshades and other precast elements. Next. Next, please. Yeah. This is 3,164 houses completed in 2006. This project has won 6 awards. The only award given by the Ministry of Housing for Technologies for this project: RC plank system, REB bricks, resource efficient bricks, and many other precast elements, including precast water tanks, ferro cement water tanks casted at the roof itself, single stack plumbing system, many other technologies that we used in this particular project. Single stack system, even UPVC soil and waste system we introduced in this project. Next. 2008 we completed 1184 houses, same different RC plank system and perforated bricks and precast elements. Next. Next page. This is also, this is we did housing in Narela, 1652 houses, same technology as of Bhavana that I was showing you. Next. This is the mass housing scheme which I did for 10 years, constructing more than 30,000 houses with this technology in Delhi itself. This is in Baprola, 5,568 houses. Next. 896 houses in Bhavana, Delhi. Next. 240 houses, 5-storied in Bakarwala, Delhi. The first time we have used RC plank system in a frame structure. Not has been done in India so far. So this is an opening for using RC plank system in a multi-storied frame system also, which has not been tried by others, but I have tried it in building about 14,000 houses with this technology. Next. This is 10,140 houses, constructed in Poothkut, Delhi, RC plank system, fly ash brick walls, and many other precast elements. Next. 3,024 houses, EWS houses in Kalkaji, Delhi. These are yet being, occupied in just 7 days. They are going to allot these houses. This is with the CLC blocks, mainly it's a frame structure, but we have used wallings, the CLC blocks in this. Next. This is Era Group's Faridabad and Palwal EWS housing. We have used 578 houses, RC plank systems, other precast elements, and resource efficient bricks. Next. This is Lucknow, 2,750 houses, monolithic technology. Next. 3,680 houses at Goga, monolithic technology. Next. 4,560 houses in Tikri Kala, that is also Delhi. Partly it is remaining, but now in the process of completion. RC plank systems again, and fly ash bricks and precast sunshades and other precast elements like kitchen platforms. Next. 754 houses, again monolithic technology in Delhi. Yes. This is Omicron Greater Noida, 1,848 houses we completed. It has been occupied for the last almost 10 years now. RC plank system and many other precast elements. Next. 800 houses in Greater Noida. This is LIG housing, used red trap bond, and for the roofings, partly it has been done with filler slab and partly with the precast system. Next. This is the Delhi Police housing in Delhi, Dhirpur. It is ongoing project, 5,202 houses with monolithic technology. Next. This is 500 houses, belongs to a builder. The first FDI project in India, financed by PricewaterhouseCoopers, Belgium, InnoGeo City. All these houses were sold on the first day. Adopted again. This is interlocking block technology, motorless interlocking block, RC plank system, and many other precast elements. Next. This is 3-storied housing in Anjar and 4-storied houses in Vapi, Gujarat. Total houses are 669. Anjar is comes under Bhuj, Zone 5. And we have used this RC plank system in Zone 5 with interlocking block technology for walls, motorless block walls. Next. These have all been occupied long ago. And, belongs to this workers housing for Welspun Group, that is Goenka's group. This is affordable staff housings of various other companies. This was in Daurala. It is in rural area. Daurala Organics Limited and Daurala Sugar Limited. 7.5 inches walls, technology of CBRI, 190 millimeter thick wall, and precast ferro cement panel slab with precast joists. Next. This is again in Mavana Sugar Works. We did a lot of housing schemes for them. We used a lot of different technologies. They gave us a free hand in 1992. 2-storied building, 3-storied building, red trap bond, 7.5 inches wall, precast concrete panels, RC plank system, that is thin RC slab system. So many technologies that I use there. Even precast RB panel, precast RB curved panels. All these technologies were used in this. Next. This is in 1983, 144 houses we constructed for Warm Organic Limited, Gajrala. Load bearing construction, filler slab we call it. So basically an RB C roofing system. Next. Again, RBC roofing, load bearing construction, housing for Modi Xerox, Rampur. It is again a village area. Now it has become a town. Next. This is a demonstration house in KK Nagar, Chennai, 1976. This is my own invention. I had filed patent for this. Precast panels with hollow panels, hollowness created by earthen coolers in this. So it gives employment to the rural generation also. And I have mechanized these production of the coolers also by introducing the machinery and the production also. Next. This is an EWS housing scheme for Bhopal, 1978. Stone block masonry, roofing system with the precast cast in situ as well as precast system with hollow pillars. These slabs and these walls were tested by CBRI in their own unit, regional office and MSCT, and they had approved these technologies by testing the panels which we had sent to them. Next, undering piles were used in this for foundations because of the black cotton soil. This is a housing colony for DCM Toyota. Now the name is changed. This company, DCM Toyota in Greater Noida. 7.5 inches walls, filler slab system. Next, structure bond walling. Next. Modi Fiber Company housing, load bearing wall, filler slab technology, means RB slab. Next. This is housing we did during the bad period times in 1982, 83 in Gurdaspur and Zira districts. 120 houses we constructed. Lot of technologies were used through NBO experimental scheme. 7.5 inches walls, RC plank system joist in this. We also used a composite mortar for plastering and composite mortar for masonry also, precast other elements also. Next. Demonstration houses built in 2010 in Amethi, filler slab technology and red trap bond. Next. This is my own personal house. I've used this vernacular technologies in this. It is near Manesar, 2009. Next. Some other views of vernacular technologies used in my house there. Next. Next, please. This is also showing the staircase. Staircase is not an RCC, doesn't have a steel. It's based on a arch loading system, compression system. Next. This is a slide I tell all my viewers that we have a very long notion. That is, who says these alternative innovative technologies are meant only for poor man's housing? This is the fundamentals issue which even Mr. Prashant has said. The green and cost-effective technologies can be used for all types of affordable buildings. I've used it for educational buildings, commercial buildings, hospital, hotels, industrial, and even the high-end housing. So I just want to show you few projects on this. And these technologies are all what I've used from the CBRI's portfolio. Next. Next, please. Yeah. You can read it. This is the KNGD Engineering College in the first slide. Second is the Jagrati Hostel, Modinagar. Third is again Mendra Hostel, Modinagar. This is an NC College of Engineering, Panipat. Pramila College, Modinagar. And then the Training Hostel Institute at Dorala or Dorala Organics Limited. These are based on various technologies, fly ash brakes, red trap bond, filler slabs, 7.5 inches wall. The various technologies are used in these buildings also. Next. This is the workshop building in Kurukshetra for United Rice Land Limited, rice industry, where I've used the precast channel roofing. Next, and the also another technology is the arched foundations. This is again boys hostel in Modi Nagar, staff housing at Dorala Sugar, staff housing for the Modi Cement Limited at Raipur. Filler slabs were used. These are all rural areas at that time when I used to build these houses in 70s and early 80s. Next. Greater Noida Authority office building in Gamma sector. I've used 30 technologies in this particular building. They gave me a free hand. This is the first one is the brick arch panel. The second one is the shell roofing. Next, just show you particular parts of the buildings in this. Funicular shell made of concrete, precast, as well as brick shell roofing, funicular shell. Next. This is a factory in Nepsara, Delhi. This is based on the RC ribbed slab roofing and rat trap bond. The below one is industry in Gurgaon with rat trap bond, ferro cement panel roofing, other precast elements. This is a mushroom factory in Sultanpur area of Gurgaon. Next. This is the filler slab being done for a hospital project in Modi Nagar. The lower one is filler slab for means RBC or RB, what you can may call RBC slab for community center at Ambala. Next. We constructed means designed and got constructed when this railway line was being laid from Jammu to Katra. There were various site offices during the route, and precast panel system was used with precast columns and precast panels walls in this. Next. This is again Greater Noida Authority vernacular technology is used for different parts of the building. Building has lot many parts. So each building has its own technology. Next. Yes, again Greater Noida Industrial Development Authority. Next. These are other buildings. The first one is the Community Hall Ambala. In this, I have used 34 different technologies for walls, roofing. Each room, each wall has a different technology. Each roof is a different technology. It's a showcase. Uh, this is constructed under BMTPC. Lot of students and faculty were trained on this. For students from engineering colleges used to go there to see even during the when the construction was being done. The basic part is the most important part is the training has to be given on the ground. Theoretical training is easier through VC or through teaching in the labs or on the podiums, but give them the training on the ground is more important part on which I concentrate. Like this, I have trained almost hundreds of engineers, hundreds of supervisors, masons, and as I said, the students and faculty members. Even in the engineering and architecture colleges, I have got made mock-ups of this some technology so that students can understand it, and that becomes their park. That's a technical park has become for them. This is Modi Bhavan in Mathura. Right side is Greater Noida 30. This is a shopping complex, residential complex in Modi Nagar. This is a multi-storied building in Ashok Vihar, Delhi, based on a precast panels, precast joists. Right side is the Tala Hydro Project Authority, Gedu, Bhutan. We have used the stone block masonry in this. The first time we tried in Bhutan, introduced this technology there in this project. The left side is the Ballabgarh Animal Welfare Board of India office. It's on the main road, which has used interlocking blocks, load-bearing walls, a lot of ferro cement, different roofing technologies were used, a lot of precast roofing systems. Each, again, in this, there are various parts of the building, and each building has its own technology. The middle one is the Gini Devi Modi Hospital, Modi Nagar, which was used for a filler slab. The right one is a hospital building in Ludhiana. Left down is a hospital again on Lucknow. Then it's a hospital in Delhi itself where we use this AEC block first time in the PWD government of Delhi. And this is the first super specialty of government of Delhi project. Left two side slides are of Moscow. This is where I learnt also. In fact, this is not my technology, it is a technology which is a composite use of steel and concrete structure. This is I learned there, but I've used there after learning them in building a hotel at Moscow. I only got the slides during construction. I didn't go after the completion because the project was abandoned once the USSR was, break up. Then right side is again the hotel Samrat Charbagh. Down is the Lucknow Kohinoor Hotel. Precast technologies are used in this multi-storied hotel also. Next. If I'll show. Now these are some of the industrial buildings that I have done on this precast red bond, precast elements, precast roofing, RC plank, plain ferro cement roofing system with precast joists. Uh, and, this is all around Delhi and around NCR. Next, please. Again, some other industrial buildings. Next. We have taken apex of a system of building. This is not an individual technology, it's a system of building through BMT. System is integration of different technologies. We call this as an integrated hybrid system. And hybrid system 1, I have developed 4 hybrid systems. For one, I have taken the PACs. For others, I have yet to take the PACs. And now we have opened a training cell in Shangria to train the local masons, local supervisors, local engineers, local contractors, what we call it as an micro level contractors, to serve only the local areas around the villages, in the villages. This is something I want to convey. This is one CBRI should feel proud of. The government of Ghana has awarded the contract for construction of 30,144 affordable housing units to a French company, for which we are the consultants, and we are a partner jointly with the government. And the accepted technologies are RC planks and joists, interlocking block walls, mortarless block walls, load-bearing constructions, and many other precast systems. Preliminary concept designs and technologies have been approved by the government of Ghana. Next. Any next slide, please? Next slide, please. Meanwhile, I just want to say something. We have also partnered with NIT Kurukshetra. NIT Kurukshetra have been given the mandate to develop 5,000 villages of Haryana. And we have been given this complete mandate jointly with NIT Kurukshetra, joined hands with them to introduce the technology in rural areas by constructing model houses. And can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please carry on.
Should I carry on?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sir. Okay. Now, these 5,000 villages, we have to construct model house in each of these 5,000 villages, and all these model houses will be constructed with different technologies, will be self-sustaining. We are trying to see that we have the rainwater harvesting system, we use the solar energy, all sort of renewable energy systems we want to use there to make it self-sustainable. And we are setting up our own center at Shangri-La and Sirsa for giving training to the local masons, as I said, in the supervisor, local contractors, micro contractors, not the contractors imposed from outside. Because I've seen while working in my projects that the local people don't, relish introducing the outsiders into their villages or into their, constituencies there. So we want to develop the entrepreneurs from amongst themselves. बहुत से अभी बच्चे हैं कॉलेज के वहाँ गांव में हमने देखा about 50% of them don't want to study. वो या गुल्ली डंडा खेलते हैं या क्रिकेट बैट बॉल खोलते हैं, टाइम वेस्ट करते हैं. So we want to motivate them to go into these technologies. कोई production करेगा, कोई contractor बनेगा, कोई material supply बनेगा, कोई logistics करेगा, like this, and to put up a cottage industry there itself. We don't want an industrialized system there, a semi-industrialized system. We have our own financing model. हम इसका financing model बना रहे हैं. Our company will purchase the machines and we will give them the machines not free of cost, but loaning them that they can pay us back in installments starting after 2 years, so that they earn out of this, and out of earning they could pay us. That is our business model. Thank you, sir.
Unable to save audio highlight. Thank you so much, sir, for your very illustrative presentation, which has really demonstrated us how you have taken forward CSR technologies from lab to land. So thank you so much for your views. Now it is my pleasant duty to summarize the proceedings. So when we look at our country, India, which is having around 138 crores populations, housing around 6 lakhs villages or rural India, which accommodates around 69% of populations, contributing around 40% of GDP growth. Now there is a big questions in front of in all of us, that this 69% population is likely to be reduced to 50%, and due to the migration of people from rural to urban centers, which definitely pose an negative impact, I should say, on habitat in terms of overpopulated cities, decline in food production, decline in education, healthcare, environmental degradation, and unemployment. So there is a need to provide the robust, improved civil infrastructure facility in rural areas with better living conditions, economy, education, health, local resource utilizations, and skill. So objective should be the sustainable and inclusive growth of rural India through multi-pronged strategy for eradication of poverty by increasing likelihood opportunities, providing social safety net, and developing infrastructure.
Ajay, we have lost the network. Ajay, we can't hear you. I would request everyone to please stay tuned till Ajay joins back in a while. Thank you. Ajay, can you hear me?
So now we have to retrospect the mission mode, this mission, national mission on PMAYG, which basically meets out the aspirations of the people of India. So with this, I will conclude my summary, and I request Dr. Ashok Kumar to elaborate on this aspect in detail further, and followed by that we will undertake the questions which has been received by the participants in
WebEx Assistant is enabled to save audio highlights.
over to Dr. Ashok Kumar, sir. Stage is yours. Stage is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Ajay. And on behalf of CSR, CBRI, and my own personal behalf, I would like to convey my sincere thanks to all the three speakers. First, Dr. Prashant Kumar, and then followed by Dr. P.K. Das, and then finally Pramod Adlakha Sahab. I think if I split all these talks into in a three parts, you will find that all these talks were really in a I can say exceptional manner, starting from the policy level to the topology or the design of houses, wherein Dr. P.K. Das mentioned about beneficiary-led design construction, or the PAHEL document that has been created by CBRI, and Dr. P.K. Das has played an immense role in that, and also the champion Dr. Prashant Kumar, who was the brain behind all of this. And finally, Dr. I always call him a Dr. Pramod Adlakha, because he has, as he mentioned, more than 50,000 houses he has built using CBRI technologies. Not only you have EWS or NIG houses, but also schools, hospitals, commercial buildings, educational buildings, wherein most of the technology, I think, rat trap, bond, or RC planks and joist technology, filler slab, or perforated bricks, shells, precast staircases, whatnot. You'll find that the application of CBRI technologies from lab to land, I think this is the best example one can think of. Those who have joined this morning, you will understand that those who pass out from engineering colleges or schools of architecture, they will wonder that why these alternatives have not been so popular. As he mentioned, people are so reluctant to use these alternatives. But I am sure with the knowledge that has been shared by the likes of Dr. P.K. Das and Dr. Pramod Adlakha ji, I think these are all worth appreciating. So this was just the thanks remarks, and I would like to ask Dr. P.K. Das first. You mentioned about so many points, and the pointers which Dr. Anjan Ray mentioned about housing or house to home. There has to be transformation in the requirements towards climate resilient, low carbon footprint housing. So with the kind of technologies that CBRI over the years have developed and implemented by Dr. Pramod Adlakha Sahab. So can you answer this question, sir, that how these can further be taken up by CBRI, or any research that can be taken up by CBRI on climate resilient, low carbon or least carbon footprint housing, which is also disaster resilient, thermally comfortable, and energy efficient. Although we have done a lot of good work, but still we would like to hear from first from Dr. P.K. Das, and then followed by Shri Pramod Adlakha ji. You are mute, sir. You are mute.
Sorry, am I audible now?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, very much.
So sorry about that. I always keep it mute because it interferes with the system otherwise. You see, I have been working, I work in a very small scale, and I have been working in the field for quite some time. And I have seen something takes up and then dips, something takes up and dips. Now, I was actually waiting for a program like PMAYG. If you do battles, we are all like Adalakaji was talking about, we are all fighting battles here and there and all those. But if you get a platform like PMAYG, which is MORD's brainchild, and Dr. Prashant Kumar was the main ship captain of that. So there we have a scale of 30 million. Now, if 30 million, as I have already told you, it's easy to adapt a design. But disseminating technology is a different cup of tea.
Yes.
Until and unless you go to the rural area, you build with them, stay there for a while. I do not buy any furniture if there is no post-sales maintenance. You will never buy a car. Before you buy a car, you ask how is the maintenance, how is the running cost, etc. So here, once again, back to CBRI. MOD's scheme of disseminating the technology, if we do not come to the rural areas, work with the people, it will not be disseminated. One typical house, 270 square feet typical house, takes about 10 to 11 tons of, 10 to 11 tons of carbon dioxide. Now, with the PAHEL kind of technology, which CBRI has already validated, we are reducing that to half.
Yes.
But if I am a poor person in the rural area, how does it matter to me? Whether 11 tons or 5 tons, it doesn't matter to me. What is very important is, does it fit my budget? Can you give me a home? That's exactly what is being tried in Assam and UP. You go to the lab, go to the land, build, stay there. Just like Grameen bank doesn't come, you don't have to go to the bank comes to you, exactly in the same manner. Supply the techno-managerial support at the local level. Let us have their confidence. The moment we gain their confidence, the rest is wonderful. So I'm eagerly waiting for the coming 3 to 4 months, where everything that you were talking about, savings in energy, cost effectiveness, local level income multiplier, overall climate change impact, etc., are all going to be addressed. I'm not saying that is the only one, like Adalakaji is working on a very large scale in a different sector. But this Assam and UP opportunity, where you go to the people, work with the system, stay there. If you build a demo building and run away from there, it is not going to work at all. So now is the right strategy, and a target of 30 million. Here we can expect that there will be a dent and change in the society.
So I think, as you mentioned, sir, Assam and Uttar Pradesh are very good examples. I think quantification has to play a very, very important role, because everything has to be quantified. Like suppose you talk about, green technologies that are yet to take up. So when we are saying that, all these these alternatives, we are going to demonstrate in these 2 states in so many houses, I'm sure that, with the quantified numbers, like, what is the amount of reduction in the CO2? What is the amount of reduction in the cost? What is the amount of reduction in the overall, man days? So like that, if all these numbers are there in a document, I think this will definitely set the tone for the entire country.
Dr. Ashok Kumar, you have actually hit the bullseye. The moment you go and talk to a DM, I spend quite a lot of time in the block development officer and the DM's office.
Yes.
One day I may be having a meeting with Dr. Prashant Kumar in the ministry. The very next day at the rural level. Now, what matters there? The DM asks very categorically.
Yes.
You're talking about a climate impact. What do you mean by that? Give me
Yes.
quantity. When you talk to a villager, instead of telling them I'm reducing 5 tons of carbon dioxide, if I simply tell him one full-grown tree can convert only 18 to 20 kilograms of carbon dioxide per year, do we have that many amount of trees? So you are absolutely right. The Assam and UP will come out with very hard facts, very, very hard facts.
Right.
Which will develop. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So now it's time for to listen questions from our dear participants. So so I will put for I will just read the questions, and my distinguished speakers appropriately may answer those questions. There are very few questions. So first question is whether the need-based survey based on socio-economic considerations and existing household size are studied or not, and how they are taking into considerations while providing such houses in rural area.
Can I take that question?
Yeah, my pleasure, sir. Please.
Once again, my thanks to the MORD. Because of them, I could travel to 78 districts of India doing resource mapping. One of the first things of Pahel was that people develop their own design. And the question is very, very important. You know, when I went to MP, Madhya Pradesh Jhabua district, the Bhil, Vilalas and Patelas, their minimum area requirement is 1200 square feet because they have cows inside the house, right? And from Jhabua, when I came to, let's say, Indore and outskirts, the house requirement came down to 330 square feet. Kerala, some of the villages, their minimum standard is 400 square feet. In Tripura, 330 square feet. Everywhere, every state, every community has got their own demand, and there is a very detailed account of that, which has already happened in 64 housing zones of India. Now, what is the solution to that? We had interacted with the community, and one thing that came out loud and clear, it has to be in an incremental way. I'll give you an example of, let's say, Assam. In Assam, during every Durga Puja, all the families, they buy new clothes for the children. Some of the families last time in Morigao told me, okay, if it is incremental, then one year we can forego a Durga Puja expenditure and add the same thing and keep growing. So once again, as Dr. Prashant Kumar has mentioned, the loan component, the latest concept of loan is small quantum of loan, small payback period, and grow increment. So as I said, the bare minimum requirement of the rural area ranges between 330 square feet to 1200 square feet. And the only way to go for it is increment.
Thank you so much, sir. So this is the last question.
Ajay, I can further add from CBRI side, with your permission, that during 2009-10, Ministry of Rural Development, they sponsored a study to CBRI, and I can show. I was so glad to visit 35 districts of the country, wherein we have surveyed 800 houses, and I'm glad Mr. S.K. Negi, Mr. R.K. Garg, Navjeet Saxena, all these were part of that team. The title of the study was Scientific Study on Revision of Unit Cost under Indira Awas Yojana in various geoclimatic zones of the country, wherein we documented 800 houses, not only documenting the socio-economic and cultural requirements of the country, but also the materials and the technologies being used in different regions of the country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ashok, for elaborating and answering this question in a quantifiable manner. So now last question is from Mr. Hitesh Rao. He's basically asking that the ground reality is something different than what is being told. So in my opinion, it is what is his observation is that might be an exceptional case, but the figures, we have to believe on the figures. I think my distinguished speakers will also support me that we have to depend on facts and figures, which has been validated at different levels, and that's why whatever you are mentioning might be exceptional cases, and that again depends upon geological and geopolitical considerations. So with this, I think there is no more further questions, and we are also exceeding the time span. So I take with due permission, I will try to conclude this particular sessions. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining this particular today's iConnect 42 edition on construction sector opportunities to rural infrastructure and housing. Let me thank our participants, industries for placing the questions, and there are many questions and positive feedbacks which shall be addressed timely through research, development and innovations by CSIR Labs. I sincerely thanks to our distinguished panelists, Director CSIR CBRI Dr. Anjan Ray, Ministry of Science and Technology, Ministry of Earth Sciences for their active deliberations during the event and setting the roadmap for effective implementation of PMAYG, Atmanirbhar Bharat, and the Aspirational District Program and Vibrant Village Development Program in a very constructive manner in years to come. So thank you so much for joining. Have a good day. Namaskar.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Namaskar, Prabodh Avarkar sir. Namaskar. Namaskar, Prashant ji.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. चलो चलो का ये पूरा